Thank you. Thank you very much for that nice welcome. And let me return the favor and welcome you to the fourth annual summit. And Governor, thank you for the nice introduction, and thank you for being the co-chair of this outfit, making good things happen, allowing us to dream and dream big and find ways to make those dreams come true. This is the fourth annual summit. It's hard to believe, host, that we've been doing this now these years, and we're still on speaking terms, and we're working together carefully and closely, and seeing some good things happen. And that's what this is all about, is making sure that something happens, beginning to see the fruits of our collaborative effort. So the more we can prove to ourselves that by working together with each other, we can make some good things happen, this organization will continue to soar. So I had the privilege of announcing $4.85 million for 3 new projects in the last couple of days, alongside with the governor's office. $1 million for the city of Prestonsburg for a new Big Sandy regional wastewater treatment plant, which will extend to the new industrial park alongside the brand new rebuilt Kentucky Mountain Parkway. The other 2 projects are part of the new Abandoned Mine Lands AML Economic Development Pilot Program that I was able to champion in Washington over the last couple of years to help communities that are hardest hit by the war on coal to try to revive from the damage caused by that era. Since 2016, Congress has added $195 million from the general fund for these types of projects through 5 states, including Kentucky. About 1/3 of that money has been invested in eastern Kentucky, where we lost 12,000 coal mining jobs under the previous administration. But you are resilient. I was telling my successor speaker here in a minute, as we came in just now, about the terrible crash that our economy has suffered in the last few years, and how this organization came to be from people, you, who came here on that blizzard in January of 4 years ago and stayed all day long, commiserating together, but also dreaming together and breaking blood together, and deciding we're going to do something about it. And you're making it happen. You're making it happen. You're resilient. We're retooling our resources, doubling down on our efforts to create jobs and bring innovative change to the mountains. The AML Economic Development Pilot Program is already fueling your visions and efforts on the ground. My slogan is, a vision without funding is what? A hallucination. And so I want to try to find ways to fuel your dreams and see if we can make them become a reality. For example, on Wednesday, I was able to announce $1.9 million for the Royalton Trail Town project in Magoffin County. Those people there had been working on this for years with no funding, except what they taken out of their pockets and paid for shovels and whatever, and their sweat equity. But now they've got something that will attract a lot of visitors to that region in eastern Kentucky. Same thing is true with $1.95 million for the Rails to Trails project in Floyd County. going up an old CSX railroad. Both projects are repurposing old railroad lines to develop unique trails for hiking, mountain biking, horse riding, and the like. They're both volunteer-led, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who put some sweat equity into their own project, that we can help you then realize your ultimate dream. Local people who've pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, jumped into the trenches to clean up the trash and develop the trails, investing even their own money in these projects. I'm proud also to announce that today the state just opened the 2017 granting period for the next round of AML pilot projects, so be sure to get your application submitted soon. The pot of money that I was able to set aside in D.C. goes to the states, and the state then decides, with AML's participation, where what projects are funded. So you need to apply, as I'm sure you know, through the state AML office to qualify for these projects. As you know, you've heard me say it too much. I believe in planning your work and working your plan. And I want to applaud those groups in both Floyd and Magoffin counties for leading by example to that theory. Last year in Kentucky, the tourism industry had a $14.5 billion economic impact. But only $1.5 billion of that was in southern and eastern Kentucky, even though we've got the most beautiful part of the state. We're lagging way behind. And your tourist working group here, you got your work cut out for you. We've got the raw material, we've got the place, we've just not sold it the right way. These same mountains in East Tennessee, same mountains, same people. What a difference. They've taken advantage with the Gatlinburg and the Great Smoky Mountains and all of that. We can do a lot of the same thing, but we've not sold ourselves yet on that idea. We have more opportunities for adventure tourism, wildlife viewing than in any other part of the state. So we need to be more proactive in marketing these beautiful hills that we have and developing outdoor recreation activities. Let me go back a second here. That AML Economic Development Pilot Program that I've mentioned earlier is basically a trial run for what I call the Reclaim Act. The Reclaim Act, which is now moving its way through the Congress, it's already passed out of the appropriate House committee, headed to the floor. McConnell's working on it on the Senate side. But that Reclaim Act would take $1 billion out of the $4.5 billion abandoned mine reclamation fund that's been paid into by the mining of coal for years. But the money's just sitting there, $4.5 billion. It was set aside for the purpose of reclaiming old abandoned mines, and yet it's not being used for that purpose. Well, the Reclaim bill, will take $1 billion of that and give it to 5 different states where the impact of mining has been so heavy. And the money must be used to reclaim abandoned mines, but it's also got to be used for projects that also will develop jobs. Like, for example, an abandoned mine near a highway that would be a great location for a shopping center or a school or whatever. So you could use this money to build roads to it, water, sewer, electric, so on. So it's economic development reclaimed mines, land, money. That's the Reclaim Act. Kentucky, under that program, would receive $20 million for each of 5 years, a total of $100 million total, which will help us get a long way toward revitalizing our region. Now, the Reclaim Act is going to take a little time. I knew at the time. It started 2 years ago. So I said, in the meantime, we need to take some general fund monies and do a pilot program to lead into Reclaim. And that's where the AML monies we're talking about spending now is coming from. It's a pilot program for 17 and 18 years. And then hopefully we'll have the Reclaim Act in place with a larger amount of money. State and local governments able to leverage funding from that Reclaim Fund to secure additional sources of public and private funding to develop abandoned mine lands for things like new water lines, hiking trails, industry recruitment, business expansion, you name it. It would provide Kentucky, as I say, $20 million each year for 5 years for that purpose. It takes all of us pulling together. We all know that. To bundle our resources, our energy, our attention, our devotion, our time, our sweat equity. We've all got to pitch in together. And for this purpose, we can't rely a lot on county lines. This is a regional problem that we have. It's going to take a regional solution to that problem. And to have a regional solution and a regional attack, we've all got to pull together. What happens good in Martin County is going to help Floyd County, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. So I really think that that's the one thing that you've achieved with SOAR, and that is thinking a much broader scope. You're looking at the horizon rather than the tree in front of you. And that's what we have to do. It takes all of us pulling together to bring about this type of transformative change that we're going through. This is not a temporary thing that you're involved with here. This is a long-term, dedicatory piece of work that you've got to be aware of and into for years. We're not going to see very many immediate successes. We're seeing some, but we've been at it a very short time. But it's going to take a long time. And it's going to take you staying with it. And I appreciate you coming back and being a part of this and taking part in these working groups that are the most important thing that we do. And so the transformative change that SOAR represents and is leading, and we'll hear more of that all throughout the day. We've got a great lineup of speakers to headline the SOAR Summit this year. We're eager to hear from John Stevenson, the Senior Manager of Public Policy at Amazon Web, John Farini-Mundy, the Chief Operating Officer of the National Science Foundation in D.C., Philip Brown, the Executive Director of the Kentucky Communications Network Authority. He'll give us an update on the Kentucky Wired project to bring high-capacity, high-speed cable to our region, every county, through key partnerships in the state, and other great speakers. I met with Bill Gates. I meet with him once a year. As you know, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gives hundreds of millions of dollars for work around the world to eradicate polio and child diseases and malaria and so forth. Tremendous foundation work that they do. But he comes to D.C. During our budget cycle to be sure that the U.S. government is doing what he's really doing around the world as well, and we do. And my subcommittee does that work. So I talked to him about SOAR. And I said, Bill, while you're working around the world, and God love you for it, we've got a piece of America that needs you. And he has something I want.